light on the legends and all the greats who had heart and know just what it takes to be victorious and never lose their place. Yeah, this is combat sports history. No more mystery, but telling all the tales and showing the highlight tapes. Yeah, know exactly what it takes. Yeah.
Welcome back to Combat Sports History. Today we'll be covering the first UFC event. The original concept for the UFC came from Art Davey when he proposed to John Milius and Rorion Gracie an 8-man single elimination tournament, originally called War of the Worlds. The tournament was inspired by the Gracies in Action video series produced by the Gracie family of Brazil, which featured Gracie Jiu-Jitsu students defeating martial artists of various disciplines such as karate, kung fu and kickboxing. The Gracie Challenge began in the 1920s, and it was an open invitation issued by the Gracie family to martial artists of other disciplines to fight them in a Vale Tudo match. The Gracie Challenge acted as a precursor to the UFC. The purpose of these challenges was to prove the effectiveness of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. The tournament would feature martial artists from different disciplines facing each other in a no-holds-barred match to determine the best martial art, and would aim to replicate the excitement of the matches Art Davey saw in the videos. Art Davey drafted a business plan, and 28 investors contributed the initial capital to start War of the Worlds promotions with the intent to develop the tournament into a television franchise. Art Davey is a business executive. An entrepreneur, he was active in the Southern California advertising circles, as well as being the creator and co-founder of the UFC. Art Davey also introduced K1 kickboxing from Japan to America. John Milius, who is a noted film director and screenwriter, as well as a Gracie student, agreed to act as the event's creative director. Milius is known as the writer for the first 2 Dirty Harry films. He has received an Academy Award nomination as screenwriter of Apocalypse Now, and he also wrote and directed The Wind and the Lion, Conan the Barbarian and Red Dawn. Rorion Gracie is a Brazilian-born Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Grandmaster and one of the few people in the world to hold a 9th degree red belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He is the oldest son of Helio Gracie, and he is widely recognised as one of the men responsible for introducing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to the United States following the arrival of his first cousin, Curly Gracie, in 1972. In 1993, War of the World Promotions sought a television partner and approached pay-per-view providers TVKO, SET and SEG. Both TVKO and SET declined, however SEG accepted and became WOW's partner in May 1993. SEG devised the name for the show as Ultimate Fighting Championship. The first UFC event was co-produced by War of the Worlds Productions and SEG at McNichols Sports Arena in Denver, Colorado on the 12th of November 1993. The event was held in Colorado as it did not have an athletic commission and thus no governing body from which they would need to get approval for bare knuckle fighting. The event was presented as a showcase of various fighting styles to determine the best martial art. Fighters typically were only trained in one discipline, and they quite often didn't have experience in fighting against different martial arts. Rorion Gracie didn't want to use a boxing ring or mats, as he didn't want fighters escaping through ropes and so on. So John Milius came up with the idea that the fight should take place in an octagonal cage, fenced with chain link. Campbell McLaren, an SEG executive, wanted people to consider the championship a live televised version of Mortal Kombat. However, that idea and Davies' idea to tap the cage with barbed wire were rejected. The stipulations and regulations of the first event are as follows: no doping probes, no holds barred, with the exception of eye gouging, ground strikes and biting, no mandatory gloves or uniform, no judges scores, no time limit. The win was secured via knockout, tap out or corner stoppage. Art Davey, acting as the show's booker and matchmaker, invited some well-known martial artists and fighters to compete in UFC 1. Some names include Dennis Alexio, Rick Rufus, Gene LaBelle and Ernesto Hust. They all turned down the offer, However, there is conflicting information online, as some sites state Ernesto Hoos was not allowed to fight at UFC 1 in case he beat House Gracie. So Art Davie resorted to placing ads in martial arts magazines, however only a dozen or so responded to the ads. The promoters then agreed upon an 8-man tournament with a grand prize of $50,000. The preliminary bout was between Jason DeLucia and Trent Jenkins to decide the alternate in case one of the fighters weren't able to compete due to injury or fatigue. The fight was very short, only lasting 52 seconds, and DeLucia secured the win via rear naked choke. The first fight on the main card was Gerard Gordeau versus Taylor Tully. Gerard was a savate and karate expert and held a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu too, whereas Tully was a sumo wrestler in Japan. Tully rushed Gordeau, however Gordeau counterpunched and knocked Tully down to the ground and knocked him out with a vicious head kick whilst Tully was grounded. The fight was over in a matter of 26 seconds, and this was Tully's first and last MMA fight. The second fight of the night was between Zane Frazier, who had a 4th degree Kempo Karate black belt. He is a 4-time world karate champion and WKF super heavyweight kickboxing champion, versus Kevin Rozier, who was also a kickboxer with a record of 66-8. He was a 3-time WKA super heavyweight champion and ISKA North America kickboxing champion. Rozier was charging forward and stalking Frazier immediately and managed to knock him down, but Frazier quickly recovered and put the pressure on Rozier, laying in punches and knees in the clinch. Frazier took the fight to the ground and landed some knees to the head, however Rozier resiliently got back to his feet. Both men looked tired at this point. Rozier started delivering several clubbing blows to the back of Frazier's head, sending to the mat where he finished off the fight with fist stomps until Frazier's corner framed the towel to save their fighter. The third fight was professional boxer Art Jemison, who at the time had a boxing record of 29-5. He was also the IBF Cruiserweight champion, versus House Gracie, who held a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu record of 51-1, and he was a 4th degree black belt. This fight is most famous for the fact that Art entered the octagon with one boxing glove on his left hand. In interviews after the event, he said it was to protect his jab hand from injury and to free up his right hand for grappling. After a short filling out process, House shot for the double leg takedown and immediately secured full mount, forcing Art Jemison to tap out. The last quarter-final bout was between professional wrestler Ken Shamrock, who was very popular in Japan and had his first MMA fight a few months earlier in Pancrase, versus Patrick Smith, who was a 3rd degree black belt in Taekwondo and also held a black belt in Hapkido, American Kempo, and Tang Soo Do. Shamrock immediately went for the takedown. After a grappling exchange, Shamrock was able to lock in a heel hook and won the fight in under 1 minute. The first semi-final fight was between Gerard Gordeau and Kevin Rozier. Gordeau entered his fight with a broken right hand, and Rozier entered with a cut over his left eye. However, both fighters were feeling a lot more confident now after their first win. Rozier started charging forward on Gordeau, however Gordeau was able to keep him at bay with leg kicks. Gardeau then knocks down Rozier to the ground and carefully calculates his shot, forcing Rozier's corner to throw in the towel, meaning Gardeau advances to the final. The next semi-final was between House Gracie and Ken Shamrock. Both men were relatively fresh and remained unscathed from the quarterfinals. As soon as the bell rang, Gracie shot for the takedown. After a scramble on the ground, Gracie locked in a rear naked choke, forcing Ken Shamrock to tap, setting up the final of House Gracie vs Gerard Gardeau. Both men made their way to the octagon for the third time that night. And true to form, once the bell rang, Gracie went for the takedown. Gardeau was able to stay on his feet and use the fence to prevent going to the ground. However, Gracie was eventually able to take him down and obtain full mount. Gracie attempted an arm triangle, but managed to sink in the rear naked choke, thus earning him the title of the first Ultimate Fighting Championship winner. The event achieved its main goal, which was to promote Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and establish it as the best martial arts discipline. The event was also a financial success, as it had a pay-per-view buy rate of 86,000 and a live gate of around 7,800. Whilst the event is largely regarded as a success today, there were a few negatives about the event. For example, major martial arts observers and columnists did not bother to show up, the press in general neglected the event, and several big name fighters turned down the offers to participate. But there's a brief overview of UFC 1, the first UFC event. This leads us on to the next UFC event, which will be UFC 2. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe and share. Make sure to check out my Facebook and TikTok. Thanks for watching and take care.